Hello everybody and welcome once again to another edition of In Pit Lane. Well, if you want to ever cure somebody of their motorsport virginity, probably the most surefire way to get them excited about the sport is to take them to a drag strip somewhere and introduce them to Top Fuel dragsters. Top Fuel dragsters are the ultimate acceleration machine. If you haven't seen them before in the flesh, if you haven't experienced it, boy, have you got a treat coming up in advance, because these things, just think of this for a second. You've got a car that accelerates from 0 to over 500 kilometres per hour in less than 3 seconds. It is unbelievable. And the great news is, for all of us in Victoria, is that Top Fuel drag racing is coming back to Victoria at both Calder Park and Heathcote Park Dragway as part of the new Australian Top Fuel Championships. Joining us a little bit later on in the program, we're going to catch up with one of the people involved in the setting up and running of that championship. Here's Andy Lopez, so stay tuned for that. But right now has been a big weekend of motorsport, well, in some cases a big weekend of rain. Let's find out about all that's been happening and indeed not happening on the world of local and international motorsport. This is the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. Gold Coast teenager Broc Feeney will replace Jamie Whincup at 888 Racing in 2022. It's a huge vote of confidence in the Queenslander, who has had a meteoric rise into the main game in a very short amount of time.
It was only a few years ago, to be honest. I was sitting on the couch watching these guys and idolising them, and now I'm running into them every day and I'm replacing Jamie. So it is a dream come true, and there's so many kids out there that are in my situation that I was a few years back. So literally, it's hard to believe that this is true at the moment. I'm so excited and so grateful for the opportunity, and the hard work that we've put in over the last few years has finally paid off. And just to get into the main series would have been absolutely awesome, but to be filling the role of the greatest of all time, it's very hard to put into words.
Feeney, who currently leads the Dunlop Super 2 Series, has revealed that he knew that he was in the running for the coveted position at the start of the year. A situation that's placed even more stress on the young driver.
Yeah, it's been a very important year for me. I knew the opportunity was there to replace Jamie this year at the start of the year, and it all depended on how I went this year. So to get 4 out of 6 wins so far in the season, I've won 2 out of the 3 rounds. It's been a perfect time for me to get some results on the board. So put in a lot of hard work to make sure that it's been a successful year for me, and it feels like a big reward.
The question of who would replace Whincup was one of the most discussed in recent times, with many experienced names and even overseas stars rumoured to be in the mix. So, why pick a rookie like Feeney?
I think some people will look at it and think that we would have gone the established driver direction, but we're not one for taking it conservatively. Like we take risks at T8, we get on the front foot and have a crack, and we lead with our gut feel, and it seemed right to give Broc the opportunity. Of course, it's an element of skill. You have to have a driver with an element of skill, but more importantly than that, certainly for me, is you need someone with good morals, a really good attitude, and knows the definition of hard work.
Feeney will drive alongside Shane van Gisbergen, who's confident that the youngster has what it takes to fill such big shoes.
He's got all the tools he needs, all the coaching, all the best cars there possible, and engineers and teammates. So it's going to be a seamless transition for him, but for sure in his rookie year it won't be easy, but he's got everything he needs to succeed.
Feeney's scheduled to drive alongside veteran Russell Ingall as a wildcard entry at this year's Bathurst 1000 later in the year. A big weekend for Aussies overseas, especially if you're the son of a former World MotoGP champion. In Moto 2, Remy Gardner has stretched his lead in this year's title chase to 44 points after a close win in last Sunday's race at Silverstone. Gardner's position in the championship got a considerable boost after his closest rival, teammate Raul Fernandez, crashed out of the race while in 7th place. Meanwhile, on 4 wheels, Jack Doohan moved himself into a strong 2nd place in the Formula 3 standings, with 2 great wet weather drives at Spa. Starting from pole, Doohan led a Trident 1-2 ahead of David Schumacher to win the 2nd race of the weekend, before going on to take out the 3rd race on Sunday. The Aussie now moves to within 25 points of championship leader Dennis Hauger as the teams move on to Zandvoort this weekend. With the NASCAR playoffs starting this weekend at Darlington, Ryan Blaney will be starting the finals with plenty of confidence. Blaney took the lead in overtime of the final race of the regular season at Daytona, leading home the chasing pack and keeping ahead of a second big crash that took out most of the remaining field. Bubba Wallace survived the final corner chaos to take second place after Chris Boucher's Ford failed post-race inspection. Ryan Newman was third. Kyle Larson, who has a series best 5 wins of the season, clinched his first NASCAR Cup Series regular season championship with a 20th place finish after he was one of the cars involved in the final big crash. A dominant performance by Fabio Quartararo at Silverstone last weekend to win the British MotoGP. Quartararo took the lead on lap 5 and from then on remained totally in control to take the win and increase his championship lead to a healthy 65 points. Suzuki's Alex Rins had his best race of the year, staying on board and holding on to second place. Aleix Espargaro was third in his best result of the year and the best result ever for Aprilia. He only just managed to hold off the hard-charging Aussie Jack Miller, who briefly jumped into third before being repassed by Espargaro. Paul Espargaro's Honda was fifth, and Brad Binder, taking sixth on his KTM, meant that there were 6 different makes in the first 6 places. OK, it's time to address the elephant in the room.
What elephant?
Yes, the Belgian Grand Prix, all 3, or was it 1 lap of it? Max Verstappen walked away from the circuit with half points for a win after a decision was made to officially start the race behind the safety car for the minimum required distance. George Russell and Williams didn't seem to mind, though. They picked up second place, courtesy of Russell's fantastic wet weather qualifying run on Saturday. Lewis Hamilton was third ahead of Dan Ricciardo in his highest finish of the season for McLaren. After the race, several drivers went into bat for the long-suffering spectators, with Hamilton saying that they should be given refunds. Of course, we're talking about Formula One here, so is that likely to happen? Yes, that was a rhetorical question. And that's the In Pit Lane news for the week commencing August 30th, 2021. Stay healthy, stay dry. Yes, well, what did you think of the decision at Spa? Do you think the race should have gone ahead? Do you think they made the right call? Why don't you join us after the program? If you're watching on Channel 31 right now, if you're watching live on Thursday night at 9:30 on Thursday, straight after the program, flick over to the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, head on over there and join us live for Full Course Yellow. Have your say, join the conversation about that and other things as well. We'll be talking about Broc Feeney and the signing there. We'll be talking about MotoGP and a whole bunch of other things. It's a show where you're a participant. You don't sit there and watch just passively. You take part. So head on over to the YouTube channel or indeed the Facebook page and join us for Full Course Yellow. Right now, we're going to take a break now on In Pit Lane, but when we come back, we're going to be talking drag racing and the new Australian Top Fuel Championship with one of the people involved with the running of the series, Andy Lopez. That's when In Pit Lane returns right after this break. Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Well, exciting news for drag racing fans with the news that Top Fuel dragster racing at the very top level is coming back to Victoria at both Calder Park and Heathcote Park in 2022 as part of the new Australian Top Fuel Championship. A little bit earlier in the week, I had the opportunity to catch up with one of the people behind the new series, and that's Andy Lopez. He's up at Alice Springs at the moment at one of the other events that his company runs, the Red Centre Nats. Now, I will apologise in advance because of the situation where it was and a whole bunch of things. The audio of this interview is far from as good as it could be. We did the best to try and make it better, but ultimately there are lots of glitches in this. But it is listenable. You'll be able to hear everything that's going on. But apologies for the quality of the audio. But sometimes in these times, you've just got to take what you can get. But as I said, caught up with Andy Lopez at Alice Springs, and I started off the interview by asking him all about the new Australian Top Fuel Championships and how he became involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Top Fuel teams have decided for 2022 and moving forward that they wanted to basically take control of their championship series and to run it as I'm not going to say standalone, but because it is running in conjunction with other events and so forth, but to run it as a true national series or as national as it can get. Obviously, Top Fuel's only been racing between 2 venues over the last few years, so the teams want to get to more tracks and in front of more people and to do more racing. So that's one of the reasons why the Top Fuel Championship has come about in this way. So it's in 2022. It's a six event series. First one, all things being equal, will kick off in January at Sydney Dragway. The second one will be in February at Calder as part of the Australian Nationals. The third one will be at Motorplex as part of Western Nationals. The fourth one will be at Heathcote at a brand new event that we're creating at Heathcote. The fifth one will be back at Sydney as part of the Nitro Champs. And the sixth event, which should be the grand final event, is at this stage still to be announced. We know where we're going, but it's going to be quite a nice surprise and a really, really special event to end the series in 2022.
So what was the motivation? How did you get involved? I mean, your company is involved in running a number of major events, apart from the one that you're at the moment up at the Red Centre Nats. Some of the ones that we would know of, Motor X is something that we've covered here on the past on In-Pit Lane down here in Melbourne. And, of course, you recently, comparatively recently, got involved in the running of the Summer Nats, which, of course, is one of the biggest festivals of its type in Australia. In fact, one of the biggest of its type in the world. So tell us how did you get involved in this? Who approached you to take over the running of the Top Fuel Championship?
Well, I was actually approached by the teams and through a gentleman called Nathan Prendergast, who is also working with me on helping run the series. So they approached me sort of around the middle of the year to come and have a chat to them and see if we could help, imagine what the series would look like. The other thing that we do, I guess, for the teams is to provide a single point of contact, a bit like bracket management, and help make it really easy for teams to participate in the events that want to have them and that kind of stuff. So that's where that's how it sort of came about. It wasn't something that we had actively sought to get. It was just something that it kind of came a bit out of the blue, to be honest.
When you talk about the teams, I mean, what teams will we be seeing? I mean, how is that all organised? Is it a bit like the sort of the Formula One supercar type model where you've got franchises and all that? How many of the teams are involved, and what teams are they?
It's the four teams running currently, or that have been running currently, that you would expect. There's the Lamatinas, the Rapasadas, Premier Racing with Peter Zibris, and also Jim Reed Racing and the Reed Boys. So those four teams have committed to the series. What we're really excited about is delivering, and this is the first series of, what is planned to be many going throughout the year. So what we're hoping that this series will do is also provide an opportunity for growth in the category, whether it be people who participated in the past and have parked and haven't run, or whether there's maybe future growth as well. Top Fuel is very much it's a showcase and an entertainment event as well as a sporting event, and it's I think when people tell me that when Top Fuel's healthy, drag racing is healthy.
And that's the thing that we've been missing over the years. It's always said that drag racing, unfortunately, is probably the great lost opportunity in Australian motorsport. It's incredibly popular. There's a passionate supporter base, but people want to go out there. It's been shown in the past when you give the people what they want, and what they want are basically top fuel cars, that you will get big crowds and you will get enthusiastic crowds. In terms of how you organise this, as you said, the sport has been very fractious over the years between not just individual sanctioning bodies, but also between different categories, different teams. How do you see yourself as a sort of a uniting force between all of those conflicting organisations and all those things, or is there a danger that you could become yet another sort of the people's front of Judea, as it were?
Yeah, exactly. I like that comparison. Look, I don't know a great deal about the issue. I mean, I know that's I'm being a bit disingenuous there. Like, I'm not particularly involved or enmeshed or have a dog in the fight, as they say, in any of the issues that have been there in the past with drag racing. I always say drag racing, everyone I've met in drag racing I like and I think are good people and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, some of them don't get on and can't work together, and that's really their business. I think that what drag racing, like any sport, needs, and particularly at the moment coming out of COVID, fingers crossed, what drag racing and every other sport needs is, and it's unity in a gentle sense, in that just buy a ticket, go and watch drag racing at your local track and enjoy that and support the sport. That's the best thing that people can do for drag racing, is either get out and race or get out and watch. Buy a ticket, buy a pie, buy a T-shirt, have some fun, and really be positive and thankful that this amazing sport of drag racing is populated by people who are prepared to invest their time and money and passion into putting the cars on the track so that punters who just love watching it can do that. It's from a spectator's point of view, drag racing is a really affordable sport to go and enjoy. And I think that moving out of COVID, the most important thing, I'll go back to what I said in the beginning, is that people should just buy a ticket, support the category, the track that's near them, so I should say the categories that they like, and focus on the positives and not worry too much about the negatives.
Well, we're going to find out more about the Top Fuel Championship and also about some of the other events that you're involved in a little bit later on after we come back from a break here. You're watching In Pit Lane on the Australian Community Television Network, Channel 31, and of course on demand on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. Don't go away. We'll be back with more from Andy Lopez right after this break. Welcome back. Well, our guest is Andy Lopez from the recently announced Australian Top Fuel Championships. And Andy, you run a number of different events. You're up at one right now with the Red Centre Nats, and also, of course, Motor X and a number of others. Tell us a bit about your background. I mean, what does your company do, and how did you get involved in all of that?
Okay, yeah, for sure. Look, I come from an event management background. I have a company called Out There Productions Australia, which has run particular focus on sporting and major outdoor events. We've been doing that for 25 years, actually, this year. It's our 25th birthday. We've done major events for, as I said, for government, sports, education, music, and that around Australia and also internationally. About 10 or 12 years ago, we were doing a lot of work in Canberra. The ACT government said, hey, there's this event called Summer Nats, which is going up for sale. And I'll be honest, I'd heard of it, but never really seen that much about it. We had a look at it, and it was a pretty intriguing sort of prospect, and we ended up buying that event and doing that I did that with my business partner and another business partner. We've remained together in that business ever since. We've had the Summer Nats for about 12 years. The next step was we developed Red Centre Nats, which is what I'm here for in Alice Springs at the moment, which is a sensational festival, drag racing, burnouts, cruising of unregistered cars on the road. It's like Mad Max and, show cars and all that sort of thing. So we've been doing that since 7th year now, just me and 3,000 flies. And then also that's now grown into, we also have Motor X in Melbourne, which you've mentioned. We have the Rocky Nats, which we did for the first time this year in April in Rockhampton. Again, another extraordinary event. We've built a street drag racing circuit on a main road, barriers and all that sort of thing in the heart of the CBD in Rockhampton. We've got drifting, burnouts, show and shine, cruising, showground show, all that sort of stuff. So we're doing that. Plus, we've also recently partnered with Motivation in Perth, which is an outstanding event of 35 years with the Motorplex. So, and there are more to come. So we've sort of, from our beginnings of only one event at Summer Nats, we've grown and created a whole bunch of other things. And something, I'm not a motorsports person, but I really love the people that I've got to meet and work with over the years, and the car scene and car community in Australia is just full of awesome people.
It's interesting you say that you're not a motorsport person, because I think back, it sort of reminds me of the involvement of Tony Cochrane and the rise of supercars, and there was a lot of criticism at the time. I mean, what does this guy know about the sport? But ultimately, he was the sort of person, the reason that he could sort of bring all of the warring factions in that part of the sport together was basically, by his own admission, you needed a bastard like Tony Cochrane, someone. Are you confident that you're going to have that force of personality where you can go to all of the people and say, yes, I've looked at your point of view, I've looked at your point of view, I've made a decision, you live with it?
Mate, if I had a tenth of Tony Cochrane's personality and influence, I'd be a very happy man. Look, my role in this is I'm going to look after the interests of Top Fuel Australia as far as the drag racing is concerned, and just be really open for business and open to what people want to do. And I think it's one of the things that myself and my team do really well, is we do listen to people, and it's not us telling people what to do and how it's going to be, but just say, well, look, this is how we're going to do something. Come for the journey with us and give us feedback on the way through. And if we can make things better for you as we go, then that's what we'll do. Like, we're always understanding particularly again with Top Fuel, I'm at the infancy of my understanding of this. But I do know what makes a good show, and I know what makes the crowd happy, and I also know how to treat the constituents who are part of that. So I look at drag racing's like it's like a music festival. You've got all these acts that are really, really committed to what they do, and they appear in a program, and they've all got to be treated with respect and decency and have a really rewarding time at that festival. That's what drag racing is to me. It's a really good analogue to a music fest. People are always going to have egos and differences of opinions and want to be higher up on the list and that kind of stuff. From my end, I'm just going to make sure that everyone who is a part of our event gets treated really well, feels respected, and gets what they want out of being there, which is racing in front of lots of people who are screaming for them. And that's, in the end, what it's all about.
In terms of the racing, just as we sort of wind up, do we know what sort of format it's going to be? Are we looking at the sort of the traditional drag racing elimination format, or are you perhaps looking at things like more Chicago shootout style, where you're maximising the number of runs that people are going to see from the top fuelers?
Yeah, exactly. We're looking at maximising the number of runs that people are going to see from the top fuelers. That's what it's about. So it's genuine racing, but it's entertainment, and it's also, you know, for the top fuel teams, they don't get to race that often. To come and get eliminated, there's not a massive amount of joy and reward in that. So that being said, the top fuel guys do actually really like the elimination format too. It's the hardcore of the sport, but I think we're looking at that sort of all-run format where they all get to race as many times as possible to give the crowd that spectacle that the crowd's there for, and also come up with a worthy winner at the end.
Well, it's great to see, as we said. I mean, as someone who grew up and loves drag racing and has seen, been frustrated with the way things have gone over the past few years. It's fabulous to see sort of a united force getting together and bringing all the different factions and all the different pieces of the puzzle together. Really looking forward to seeing it happen. And as we say, for our viewers on Channel 31 Melbourne, 2 appearances here in Victoria, both at Calder Park for the Nationals, and then up at Heathcote Park a little bit later on. We had Lance from Heathcote Park on the show a few weeks ago back in the studio, and we're really looking forward to it. Do you have a website at the moment? Where can people go and find out more about the championship?
Just jump on Facebook. We're Top Fuel Australia on Facebook. Look at it there. All our calendar and updates are all happening through there. And we're also on that Facebook channel. You're going to find us promoting every other event that we can that's in drag racing around Australia. So whether it's 400 Thunder, the Australian Drag Racing Championship from Andra, nationals around the country, whatever it is, as I say, we're going to promote and support those sports. It doesn't matter whether we're running or not. It's just really important that people, we keep saying this, buy a ticket, go to the track, make a difference, help drag racing come out of COVID and become really, really healthy.
We look forward to it at the moment. Good luck with what you're up there now for the Red Centre Nats, and enjoy your time out in the sunshine before you're possibly back in lockdown. Thanks for joining us right now on In Pit Lane, and good luck with the Australian Top Fuel Championships next year.
Thank you so much.
The show may be over, but the motorsport chat continues with Full Course Yellow, the In Pit Lane after party. We're on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, live most Thursday nights at 9:30, straight after In Pit Lane here on Channel 31. So, why not join us? Yes, do join us straight after the program if you're watching us live on Channel 31 for Full Course Yellow, 9:30 every Thursday night. We are live. You can have your say. You can join us for the conversation. We'd love to have you along and join the chat. And once again, thank you to Andy Lopez. Really excited about the news of the Top Fuel Championship and those cars coming back and racing in Victoria once again. Anyway, that's all we have time for this week. Run out of time once again. Hope you'll join us again next week on the program for more local and international motorsport. Not much happening locally, unfortunately, but whatever there is, we'll cover it, or at least we'll try. But until then, until we see you next week, from all of us here at In Pit Lane, it's thanks for watching and bye for now.